Are you looking to grow your dental practice and attract top-tier new patients? Discover the potential of digital marketing with a personalized strategy session. Join Lila Stone, the marketing director at Equa, for an exclusive 90-minute consultation. Lila and her team will dedicate 6 hours before your meeting to create a customized marketing plan specifically for your practice. This valuable opportunity is free of charge and comes with no commitments. Visit www.insuranceuntangledorg/MSM to schedule your meeting with Lila today. You'll also receive a free analysis report so you can start transforming your practice through the power of digital marketing.
You are now listening to another episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. Join us in this podcast as we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. My name is Ben Tuine. I'm one of the co-hosts of this podcast. And as you know, we've created this podcast to help practices that are tangled up with insurance. So today I have my co-host and friend Naren with us. I'm going to interview him today on some marketing concepts. Naren, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thank you so much for this conversation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking about a view on normal marketing versus exceptional marketing. I actually really like this topic because I'm currently in the process of doing some intense training with my son for his baseball program. And it's interesting where you look at different educational programs, you have normal performance, and then you have a very rare exceptional performance, like a very small percentage of athletes that make the $40+ million, in their contracts versus everybody else that makes, $5 to $10 million, right? So this whole idea, Naren, as it pertains to marketing, to me, it seems very similar to that of life, right? You have normal,
Yeah.
and then you have this exceptional component, right? So first question I have for you, Naren, is on average, how many dental practices have an actual marketing plan? Are most practices these days thinking about marketing?
Yeah, I think if you were to survey, let's say 10 practices and say, hey, what's the thing that keeps you up at night? I would argue almost everyone will say that the first thing is I need more new patients, right?
Yeah.
So they all need new patients, which means they really need strong marketing. But then you ask a follow-up question, how many of you have a marketing plan? Again, actually, this was a survey that was done recently in dentistry. 41% have no marketing plan. 44% have a marketing plan, 41% have no marketing plan, and 15% don't even know if they had one. They don't know. I'm talking about the practice owner dentist, but we asked small practices across the US. We asked the owner dentist, and this is kind of what we saw. 44% have a marketing plan, 41% no marketing plan, and 15% said they didn't even know. But the thing that's even more scary is more than half of them, the majority of them don't look at their analytics, don't look at what's going on with their marketing on a month-over-month basis. They don't even know what analytics even means. They don't even know what metrics they should be looking at to see if things are going the right direction and if things are getting better. So you talked about, that one person who makes 40 million and everybody else just stumbles along, and probably if you look at the average contract, it's probably like $1 million or 2 million, right? So what is the massive difference between those top, the exceptional ones and the averages? I think same thing with, basketball. I bet the ones at the very top have a plan, have a vision, and then they execute on that plan. And of course, looking at analytics is kind of a simple clue whether you are executing on a plan. So the fact that these numbers are so dismal explains why, even though new patients is arguably the number one pain point for every practice, very few people actually succeed with it, at least on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people don't set goals. It's one of those basic things that, in college that you learn is like, you got to set goals. You got to write them down, right? If you write them down, it becomes a focus, right? And reminding yourself every day. So that's very interesting. I didn't realize that a lot of practices didn't have a marketing strategy sort of as a regular thing. How many marketing companies does an average dental practice work with? Is it wise to work with many, or what's kind of your thought there?
Yeah. So on average, 48% of the practices work with a single marketing company,
Mm-hmm.
and 20% have more than one marketing company they're dealing with at a time. And 28% manage their own quote unquote marketing, which typically means they're not really doing anything. And then 4% struggle with literally no marketing at all. Now, that's what they tell you. But if you really look under the covers, I would argue like 85% of the dental practices, again, because we have done, hundreds and hundreds of marketing strategy meetings with all kinds of practices, I would argue 85% of them, even if they think they have marketing, it's poor marketing, meaning it's ineffective marketing. And part of the problem is the doctors don't know how to measure success and what to pay attention to, so they don't pay attention to it. It's almost like we as humans have a tendency to ignore the things we don't understand or that's too complicated. I do that all the time, right? Like, for example, taxes. I just close my eyes and hope my accountant is advising me correctly. I bet we all have parts of our life where we just trust the experts and trust the people. So one of the things I urge our listeners here and in other things I do online is understand the keys to success, understand the key metrics, and then nobody can fool you, right? Because once you know the key things you need to know, even like, I bet a lot of people struggle with weight loss, for example, or being healthy, right? Understand the keys and then just make sure that you're disciplined about those keys. It's not, most of the things that you want in life are not rocket science. Just have to spend a little bit of time to understanding what's important and then just do those things that are important.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting fact, you asked me a question, do people prefer a single company versus multiple companies? What we find is 75% of those working with a single company are satisfied, assuming obviously it's the right company, because we also see a lot of people switching marketing companies. The average dental practice in the US changes marketing firms like every 12 to 18 months because they try something, doesn't work. They try something, doesn't work. And usually by the time they get to us, for example, they're on their third, fourth, fifth marketing company. So assuming you're not in that switching, and you're sticking with somebody, then 75% of the people prefer a single marketing company versus when we look at the people who are not satisfied, they are typically the ones, doing their own marketing. I mean, they're just obviously, not too many people are very, humble enough to say that they suck at marketing. But when you really start looking at results and you start probing, the majority of the people who are trying to do it themselves are like, my marketing sucks. It's not working. I'm just spinning my wheels. And even the ones working with multiple companies have a lot of dissatisfaction because, what typically happens in those situations is person A blames person B, blames person A, and we go around in circles. So usually like having a single point of contact, a single responsible person you trust and you have confidence in, I think those are keys to success.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's interesting that you that the feedback's coming in to indicate that a single marketing company tends to work better. I'm kind of curious as to why that is. Like,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
Marketing, unlike popular belief, it's not,
Mm-hmm.
throwing darts and then hoping and finding out what works, right?
Mm-hmm.
That type of
Mm-hmm.
marketing is very, very, very unsustainable. You might have a good week or a month, and then everything goes back to, square one. So typically, it requires a lot of thought, lot of action based on that thought, and then a lot of tweaks and improvements on an ongoing basis, right? Imagine having a kitchen that's known for amazing food, like an awesome, culinary experience, where there are three main chefs trying to run that kitchen. It can't happen because they're all going to be on different pages. They're all going to think differently. This is why if you look at every amazing restaurant you ever been to, there's like typically one lead chef, I would say 100% of the time, right? So same thing with a good marketing company. I'm not saying any marketing company is you should work with, but a really good one, it's better to work with one because that way you have that single leader, single strategy, single focus. Obviously, you have to be on the same page. You have to buy into the vision and the way that marketing company operates. So you guys are sitting side by side, you meaning you, the doctor owner, and the marketing company, and working together to achieve your vision. So in my experience, that's why I think the single marketing company that's knows what they're doing, that B, you have confidence and you work well with is critical for your success.
Yeah, yeah. Sort of eliminating redundancies, right? You're not having an overly complicated approach towards your new patient efforts, So that's interesting. So what are, in thinking of sort of challenges as it pertains to marketing, what are some of the, well, let's pick five challenges. What are 5 challenges that dental practices are facing these days as it pertains to marketing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the one that dentists would tell you, the number one is I don't get enough new patients. Usually, that's
Yeah.
not the problem, that's the symptom of the problem. In other words, ineffective marketing creates not enough new patients. I
Right.
also hear other variations of it. Oh, well, I'm getting a lot of patients, but they're wrong patients. They're not the right patients, right? So that's another variation of not enough new patients. Like I said, that's more of, the cause as opposed to what's causing it, right? Now, what's causing it? So what's causing it, just to kind of give you some perspective, you can get new patients obviously through PPO plans. 90% of practices still rely on PPO plans to drive new patients. But the catch there, as all of us know in this podcast, is, the PPO plans, control how much you can charge, and they'll only let you charge a lot less than your usual and customary fees. And then also, even with that, they don't pay you the full fees. They'll pay you a portion of it. So you're leaving 40%, 45% on the table. So if you're doing $1,000 worth of dentistry, you will only see $550. When you give that much money on every single patient, you see, it becomes really, really, really hard to be profitable. And you're working twice as hard. And this is why you hear a lot of health issues with dentists, a lot of turnover in dental practices, because people are burnt out. They're just working twice as hard to just keep up. So obviously, let's assume PPO is not how you're going to attract patients. Your options are SEO, which is search engine optimization, Google Ads, social media ads, and organic social media. SEO is where you show up and get free traffic from the search engine Google, which controls 93% of the search market. I think that's by far the lowest cost way to get new patients. If you compare that to Google Ads, it's literally 20% of the cost. Then comes Google Ads, and then comes social media ads. Organic social media, in other words, just like you get free traffic from Google, where you get free traffic from Instagram or TikTok, you have to be a celebrity. We call them influencer dentists, the dancing dentist, the pimple popper in dermatology. Those are the people who get that kind of traffic, but typically that's less than 1% of you. The other 99% of you never attain that influencer status with 100,000 followers, so that the numbers don't make sense for you to see any benefit from that free social media. So the 3 things are SEO, Google Ads, and social media ads. And I said Google Ads are more expensive, 5 times more expensive than SEO, and then social media ads are even more expensive than Google Ads. So one of the key reasons I see people failing is poor search engine rankings. 95% of you will struggle or get no traffic from Google for free. 5% of you will get all the free traffic. So the question is, are you in that 5% who's getting all the free traffic, or are you in the 95% who's getting almost nothing? So try to go to that 5%, just like we talked about extraordinary. Try to get into that extraordinary camp. Obviously, the other reason why practices fail is, maybe your SEO is crushing it, but your landing pages and your website is not compelling people to pick up the phone and call you. Think about it, right? They come to the door, but there's this scary looking dog at the front of the door, and everybody's afraid to come in because they're not sure if it's going to bite them and, take a piece of their, flesh. So they run away. So a lot of those things, consciously or unconsciously, we do. Of course, we are not putting a scary little dog on the front of our website, but similar effect, right? The opposite of, like, wowing them, impressing them, giving them confidence they're at the right place, making them feel like they were right, in coming to your website, and they need to proceed further and book their appointment. So the website is not optimized to influence people to pick up the phone and call. Another issue that keeps happening a lot is, the standards keep changing. We live in a fluid world. Internet is massive. Google makes 3,000 changes a year. That's 8 to 10 a day. So a lot of practices don't keep up. They don't, update their web pages for Google Eat, Google Lighthouse Code. They don't work on NAP which is name, address, phone number, consistency on a daily, weekly basis. They don't work on getting high quality backlinks. So because you're not keeping up with all these constant changes, remember, Google makes so much money from ads. So they try to kick you out of that top 5% getting all the free traffic. So they will keep making changes, like I said, 8 to 10 times a day. And if you're not keeping up and updating your marketing along with it, then you may have done great 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. Now you're back to square one. Your marketing is no longer working.
Got
And
it.
then finally, mobile is a huge thing, today, as you know, Ben. So if your website is not optimized for mobile, not maximized for mobile, then you get punished. Also, AI. Today, Google is very strict on punishing everybody who's using AI. Because remember, if you can use AI and fool Google, then nobody needs Google anymore. So Google, came up with a change to its algorithm. They call it human first, which means they prioritize human created content, human created marketing versus AI created marketing. So if you're in the AI created marketing bucket, you will get punished. You will go into the Google jail and you will never show up. So be careful. A lot of marketing companies, use the AI buzzwords and try to say, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And they use AI to do it. So really, it takes them seconds to get it done. But eventually, the results are also really poor because Google realizes it and they punish you for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I see AI everywhere, and it kind of scares me, because you see videos where marketing videos, a celebrity is promoting a product, but that's AI generated, right? It's not the actual real celebrity person.
Oh, 100%. Like I saw a video about this famous couple getting a divorce, and the guy goes, "Oh, I'm getting divorced." It's all AI generated. It's
Yeah,
scary, like what they can do today with fake everything, fake news, fake, you name it, fake
yeah.
videos.
I'm glad Google's cracking down on that, because that's, yeah, AI scares me to death.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason Google cracks down on it is imagine a world where everything you see is AI generated
Hmm.
and you don't know which is by a real human being. Like when a human being says something and it's wrong, you can do something about it, right? Because it's a
Right.
person. How do you
Hmm.
sue AI, right? You can't sue AI. So like person, there is responsibility as long as you're not hiding behind, somebody else's identity and it's your identity. You have to face up the music. So there's a
Right.
lot to be said about, only like trusting human content versus AI content.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about, just for a second here, Naren. You mentioned several different forms of marketing, but what are the top five most effective forms of marketing for a dental practice owner?
Yeah, patient referrals, I think, is still very important. But what has happened over the years is, people don't ask people when they need something. They go to Google and they ask Google. So I remember talking to a good friend of mine, client. He's, maybe at that time, this was a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, he was maybe late 60s. He's transitioning out. His son-in-law was taking over the practice, who also happens to be a dentist. And he said in the old days, I would get 30 referrals a month. Now I'm lucky to get one every 6 months. And he was
Hmm.
lamenting about this one particular patient who he helped, literally save his life. He got him some referral and he went and saw that particular, specialist, and, his life was saved because of it. And he's so grateful. You know what he does? He buys him this $500 expensive, bottle of wine or something like that, and then sends it to him, right?
Right.
Obviously, he's so appreciative. He went out of the way to buy that $500 wine. But he's like, I wish he just refers me to 5 patients. I'm like, you know, the world is different. In the old days, there was no Google, so we didn't have any Google to ask. So we asked our friends, and our friends told friends, who they see and what they see. Now we feel dumb asking our friends because the thing that's going through our friends' mind is, don't haven't you heard of Google? Like, why are you asking me? I remember I would ask my daughter some fun stuff like, who is the wife of the a certain president. And she's like, Google it. Like, why are you asking me? Right. So I
Right.
think we live in a world where patient referrals, if you're being very, very honest, has come down significantly compared to what they used to be in the, let's say, late 1990s. But
Hmm.
still, some practices do get a lot of referrals. For example, you're a specialist. So obviously you're going to get a lot of referrals from doctors, like, endodontist, for example, for complex cases. But nowadays, the general dentists are no longer referring as much as they used to because they want to keep all the business in house. But that's a different conversation. So
Uh-huh.
referrals is one, depending on your practice, obviously. having a great website, like I alluded to, that compels people to pick up the phone and call and talk to you. I think that's brilliant. That's really, really important. High performing SEO. Remember, 95% of you get little or no traffic from Google. So the 5% who are high performing are going to get all the free traffic and are going to have an unfair advantage. So that to me is my favorite because it's the most effective and long term. So a site that's doing well in SEO and that keeps up with SEO by investing 30 plus hours a month will keep doing well next month, next 6 months, next year. So they tend to go from strength to strength and they have this unfair advantage. Obviously, what if you are in that 95%? What if you are not ranking for 100 keywords? And what if you are not in that top 5% for SEO? Then obviously you have to rely on Google Ads. So definitely I would recommend Google Ads for those people. But keep in mind, your cost is going to be at least 5 times as much as SEO. So if you're kind of in the last year or two of your practice, then maybe don't invest in SEO. But if you have a runway, anything more than 3 years, you're going to continue practicing, then I do think it makes sense to try to get into that top 5% club. Just like, being a dentist is a top 5% club, right? How many people end up getting through, to dental school, right? Very, very small percentage of the population. So Google Ads is good, but only other caveat with Google Ads is if your website is not amazing, remember the people who are clicking on ads know they clicked on an ad, so they don't trust you. So if your website doesn't overcome that trust issue and compel them to want to do something, you're going to lose a lot of money too. So I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of money on Google Ads where their website is not worthy enough to convert that person into a new patient. So they are spending like $5,000-$10,000 and then they're like, oops, I'm lucky to get 2 patients from it. So the math doesn't add up. So be careful with Google Ads. Make sure you have an amazing website with before and afters, videos, etc. for that particular thing you're targeting. So if you're targeting Invisalign, then you better have amazing cases, amazing videos. Otherwise, you can easily blow through thousands of dollars. Google will keep taking your money, right? Because they have to show $250 billion in revenue every year, which that number keeps going up every year.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You talked about, Naren, 5 different effective forms of marketing. What's your warning for the least performing marketing methods that doctors should be cautious about?
Yeah, and I think the easy one obviously is traditional marketing. So I would put print ads, mailers, radio, TV. Those don't work like they used to in 1990s, early 1990s, because people don't wait for a TV ad to tell them which dentist they should see. Rather, they just go to Google and do their own research and find their own answers, just like they do with every other part of their life. So those traditional marketing has now become only 5% of new patients for dental practices, all of them put together. So definitely I wouldn't spend money on it. The only exception I see that still kind of works is, for example, if you're selling implants and you have patients in a senior home, you could do an event, and that I would consider traditional marketing, and have that a couple of seniors who are your clients talk about how great you are and what you did for them. And obviously you have to pay for the food and the wine. There's a lot of work to organize these things, but I've seen, like, of my 500 clients, at least a few successfully doing that, maybe like 2 or 3. So if you can do it, if you have the capability to do it, like do those kinds of specialty events, I would do it. Paid social media ads, like Google ads are 5 times more expensive than SEO. They are even paid social media ads are even more expensive than Google ads. So the reason for that is, I'm watching some videos on my newsfeed. Remember, the newsfeed today is like us vegging out, right? In the old days, we would sit in front of the TV and use a remote and just keep flipping channels. Now then we just flip newsfeed. So when we are flipping newsfeed, and let's say I like cat videos, or I don't know, Kim Kardashian stuff, and all of a sudden an ad for a dentist shows up, the chances of me remembering that dentist, knowing that I even clicked on it and then showing up, is very remote. So with paid social media ads, what I hear is, they don't get bookings, and when they do, huge number of them never show up. So you are like spinning your wheel. So obviously, if you are like a massive practice with 10 million in collections, and you need even more, and you have maxed out SEO and Google ads and everything else, then maybe dabble into social media ads, but I wouldn't go there till I'm at that point. And then there are a lot of people who would kind of pitch you organic social media, but like you can't outsource being famous, right? Oprah can't hire a body double and say, hey, be Oprah for me, right? It doesn't work that way. So obviously, if you're going to be the dancing dentist, if you're going to be the pimple popper, then spend 15 to 20 hours a week, become that celebrity. It'll take a few years for you to get to the 100,000 follower mark, but that's the magic number. Once you pass 100,000, this is really going to work for you. But if you're not going to stick with it, if you're not going to put 15 to 20 hours a week and become that celebrity, then don't waste your time chasing the tails of social media. Because, 1% of traffic goes to everybody else, and 99% of the free traffic goes to those influencers. They put up a video, a million people see it. And keep in mind, with social media, you're also attracting a global audience as opposed to a local audience. So for typical dentists, that doesn't add up unless they have a global product. Let's say they're selling a toothbrush or some kind of vitamins or something that perhaps people from all over the place can buy. So a lot of times, I do have like 4 clients who are in that 1% club who have more than 100,000 followers. A lot of times they do other things beyond dentistry to make it worth their while of spending so much of their personal time doing it. So those are some of the mistakes I see. And obviously SEO. Doctors don't track their SEO. They don't know how many keywords they're ranking for. They don't know how many calls they're getting. They don't know how their NAP is doing. So a lot of people think they have SEO, but it sucks. A simple metric you can look for is, are you ranking at least for 100 keywords and phrases on page 1 of Google? That means on the top 10 results of Google. So if you're not ranking for at least 100 keywords on the top page of Google, then that's a good sign that your SEO is not working for you.
Gotcha. I guess, for those listeners that are on today, a lot of great information that you're hearing today about things that you can do to boost patient flow with a good marketing strategy to sort of make yourself exceptional compared to things that are probably not the best in terms of focus, like print ads, social media ads, like what Naren just mentioned. So I would say when in doubt, as it pertains to marketing, it's always a good idea to book a marketing strategy meeting with Naren and his team. And you can do that at insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. If you don't mind, Naren, briefly, what should people expect with this type of marketing strategy meeting that you currently offer?
Yeah, so we spent several hours researching the person who booked the marketing strategy meeting. So we look at how they are doing, how their competition is doing. Are they ranking on Google? Are they doing things right? What are the gaps? So we give them a report card based on all of our research, like a detailed report card on how they are doing. Also, we give them a plan, a 12-month plan on how to dominate Google, how to get into that top 5%. So you get both a report card and a very actionable plan, a 12-month plan. So I suggest book that meeting. It's no cost. I gave you general things based on my 17 years of experience. Now you want something very specific to you. That's where the marketing strategy meeting comes in. insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Excellent. Wonderful, Naren. Well, thank you so much for your insight. I've learned quite a few things as it pertains to marketing for dental offices that I didn't know before. So hopefully our listeners can resonate with a lot of the things that you mentioned. I want to thank our guests for joining us today on another amazing episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you like this episode, don't forget to share this or even like it on your favorite podcast platform that you usually use. Your reviews will help other dentists find us and our content. Check out insuranceuntangled.com for all our episodes, including freebies and upcoming webinars that we're going to have. And also check us out on YouTube. We are now on YouTube Podcasts, and you can subscribe at Insurance Untangled. Again, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest episodes and all the fun stuff that we're going to be pushing out to the industry throughout this year and into the future. Until we meet next time, thank you for joining us on another great episode of Insurance Untangled Podcast. Have a great day.